Hello, my name is Patricia, and I share my life with my husband Dennis and our delightful 3-year-old son Eric. Today marks the 3rd anniversary of when Dennis and I first began dating. Today's a special day, isn't it? Dennis mentioned, breaking a long silence. His voice carried a different tone today, and I couldn't help but notice. Yes, it really is. Time just seems to fly, I responded, picking up on the change in his voice. What's on your mind, Dennis? You seem a bit distant, I inquired, concerned. Patricia, there's something significant I need to discuss with you, Dennis started, clearly hesitant. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and well, I want you to marry me, he said, his voice echoing the commitment he had proposed years ago. Life with Dennis initially felt like a dream. His kindness and thoughtfulness enveloped me, making me feel deeply cherished. However, as the years passed, the routine of daily life and various stresses began to alter the dynamics of our relationship. Hey, Patricia, why do we have leftovers for dinner again? I told you I wanted roast beef. Dennis interrupted my thoughts abruptly one evening. I'm sorry, Dennis, but with Eric needing so much attention, it's tough to prepare something elaborate, I explained, a twinge of guilt in my voice. I don't need excuses. It's just taking care of Eric, right? Don't make it into something it isn't, Dennis retorted, his irritation clear. He often complained about his demanding job at his parents' company. I need to put up with this because I'm going to be the next president of the company, he would say in a dismissive tone. Despite his ambitions, Dennis often struggled to meet his professional targets, and his frustration seemed to spill over into our home life. I might not come home tonight. I have golf with a senior colleague tomorrow. Just make sure you have a proper dinner ready tonight, he said, leaving me stunned by his coldness. Everything tastes so bland. Can't you do anything right these days? He criticized later that night, adding tension to our already strained relationship. The cheerful conversations and meaningful exchanges that characterized the early days of our marriage had become rare, replaced by Dennis's frequent absences and preference for spending time with friends or pursuing hobbies. During my maternity leave, I devoted myself entirely to our home and Eric, waking early and managing endless chores, yet I felt increasingly exhausted and emotionally distanced from Dennis. Sometimes I found a little solace in the happy memories of our early days together, those moments filled with laughter and Dennis's infectious smile. Yet it was clear that things had shifted. Mom? Eric called out with a bright smile, his innocent joy providing a brief respite from the growing gap between Dennis and me. His recent habit of calling me Mom more frequently was a small, comforting anchor in our shifting lives. As I navigated my daily responsibilities, I hoped for a spark that might reignite our relationship. Yet, deep down, I sensed that the warmth we once shared had cooled significantly. One quiet morning, as I tidied up before Dennis left for work, I pondered our future, wondering if we could ever recapture the love that once brought us together. I watched him coming down from the 2nd floor, dressed not in his usual business suit, but in casual attire I hadn't seen before. It must have been new. Aren't you supposed to be at work today? I asked, a bit puzzled by his appearance. I'm going to work. I don't need a suit today, Dennis replied dismissively, his tone edged with irritation. Seriously, stop nagging me. If I say it's fine, then it's fine. Don't question everything, he snapped, leaving me speechless. I was just asking a simple question. His sharp response was disheartening. Anyway, I'm leaving now, Dennis announced, his departure through the front door feeling more like an escape. A nagging thought lingered in my mind. Was he going to his office? I tried not to dwell on the possibilities as the distance between us seemed to grow with each passing day. Our conversations had become infrequent, each interaction laced with a chill that hadn't been there before. The smiles and warmth we once shared seemed like distant memories now, replaced by his criticisms and sarcastic comments, whether about my cooking or how I kept the house. His harsh words pierced my heart, leaving me to wonder if the strain in our relationship was somehow my fault. As days turned into weeks, the lack of clarity and the constant coldness from Dennis weighed heavily on me. Despite my efforts to manage our home and care for our son, Eric, it never seemed to be enough for Dennis. His once kind and considerate demeanor had transformed into one of constant critique. Something inside me broke. My love for Dennis began to fade, and the memories of happier times slowly drifted away. A sense of indifference began to fill the emptiness that had grown in my heart. What was the point of all my efforts if they went unappreciated? "Mom, look, I made this!" Eric's voice suddenly pulled me from my thoughts. "Oh, wow, that's amazing. Did you draw this?" I asked, genuinely impressed. "Yeah, this one's a dog and this is a cat," Eric explained proudly. "You're good at drawing, Eric," I praised him, his smile instantly warming my heart. As time passed, my feelings shifted. As my affection for Dennis waned, my love for Eric grew stronger. Watching him flourish, I began to seriously consider my future, specifically the possibility of divorce. I could no longer continue in a relationship where Dennis barely contributed to parenting, let alone his role as a father. The thought of being free from Dennis felt more liberating than daunting, yet one concern lingered. On our way to a scheduled meeting with Eric's grandparents, we arrived at their doorstep. "Hello, Mother." "Hi, Grandma." Eric greeted them warmly. "Eric, have you grown taller again?" Grandma exclaimed with joy. "Really? Yay!" Eric cheered, delighted by her praise. "It's good to see you. Come on in." Grandma welcomed us inside. "Thank you, I will," I replied. Despite my strained relationship with Dennis, his parents, my in-laws, had always been a source of comfort. They ran a nearby business and had shown unwavering kindness and support toward Eric and me. "That's right. I brought some delicious sweets from the station," I added, trying to maintain the peace and warmth of family ties during these complex times. "I'll serve them with coffee now. Please have a seat and relax," Grandma insisted kindly as we arrived at her home. "Let me help," I offered, eager to be of assistance. "No, it's fine. You must be tired from taking care of Eric. Just have a seat. You need to rest when you can," Grandma reassured me, her tone gentle and caring. "Thank you, Mother," I replied gratefully, settling into the comforting atmosphere of their home. My in-laws always treated me like their own daughter, their presence acting like a soothing balm to my often weary spirit. They invited us over almost every week, always genuinely interested in our well-being, their voices soft and comforting, like a soothing melody to my ears. They adored their time with Eric, lavishing him with attention and toys, and playing with him every chance they got. I felt deeply cherished by their actions. Sometimes my father-in-law would take Eric to a nearby park, knowing how much Eric loved birds. He even bought him a bird book once, a thoughtful gesture that deepened our familial bond. My in-laws were always there to listen to my troubles, including my challenges with Dennis and managing household duties. They responded with understanding and compassion, their words of encouragement and advice infusing warmth and gratitude into our visits. "I'm worried if Dennis is causing you trouble," my mother-in-law once remarked with a concerned smile as my father-in-law and Eric played nearby. "No, it's fine," I assured her, though her worried expression lingered. My father-in-law also showed concern for my well-being, often cooking new recipes for me, knowing my love for delicious food. His thoughtful gestures and the comforting moments he shared with Eric while they played brought peace to my heart. "Eric, what kind of animal shall we see next time?" my father-in-law asked playfully. "I want to see big fish next time," Eric exclaimed excitedly. "All right, let's go to the aquarium next time," my father-in-law suggested, eliciting a joyful "yay" from Eric. Watching them interact, I couldn't help but smile. Eric adored his grandparents, his carefree smile a stark contrast to the rare ones he showed at home with Dennis. "Patricia, feel free to talk to us about anything," my mother-in-law said kindly as we were leaving. Her words pained my heart a little. Little did she know, I was contemplating a divorce from Dennis. I didn't want to burden my in-laws or sadden them, even if my relationship with Dennis could be mended. I cherished my bond with them and wanted Eric to continue enjoying his joyful times with them. I was apprehensive about opening up to them about Dennis, fearing their reaction. Just as these worries occupied my mind, an unexpected incident unfolded. My in-laws had kindly offered to take care of Eric, allowing me to enjoy a cafe outing with a friend. "It's been a long time since we've had a cafe day like this, hasn't it?" my friend remarked as we sat down, sipping our coffee. "Really, Patricia, you've seemed busy recently," she observed with concern. "Have I?" I replied vaguely, trying to brush off the worry in her eyes. "Hey, Patricia, has something happened with your husband recently?" My friend hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "What do you mean?" I asked, tilting my head in confusion. "Well, actually, I saw something the other day. I saw your husband walking with a woman," she confessed, her tone cautious. "I don't know." My friend's voice trailed off, her expression clouded with concern. For a moment, my mind went blank. Deep down, though, I wasn't surprised. Reflecting on Dennis's recent behavior, I realized there had been signs I had chosen to ignore. My friend reached out and held my hand, her eyes full of sympathy. "Patricia, I think you should talk to Dennis," she suggested gently. "Yeah, maybe I haven't been myself lately," I admitted, feeling the weight of her concern and the situation. "That's why I invited you out today," she explained softly. "Is that so? I'm sorry for worrying you," I apologized. "Don't apologize, Patricia. Whatever decision you make about Dennis, I'm on your side," she assured me warmly. "Thank you," I replied gratefully, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. We parted ways, and as I headed home, the shock of her revelation gave way to a strange calm. This clarity about Dennis's actions solidified my resolve to end my relationship with him. Imagining a future just with Eric, despite the uncertainties, strengthened my determination. I needed to be strong for Eric's sake. "I'm home," I announced as I entered the house. Today was exhausting. "Welcome back," Dennis greeted me casually, not noticing my subdued demeanor. "Hey," I started, my voice steady but firm. "I've been waiting for your return," I added as Dennis carelessly threw his bag on the sofa. "Can it wait until after dinner?" Dennis replied, visibly annoyed. "No, I want to talk about it now," I insisted. "What now? Such a hassle," Dennis grumbled, avoiding eye contact. "Well, this situation is your fault, isn't it?" I confronted him directly. "Huh? What are you talking about?" Dennis looked puzzled, but a flicker of unease flashed across his face. "I heard from my friend. Is it true that you were seen walking with another woman?" I pressed, my voice calm yet assertive. Dennis's reaction was a clear confirmation. His face changed color instantly and his eyes darted around, searching for an escape. "That must be a mistake. Your friend saw wrong," Dennis stammered. "She heard your voice and even knows the store you two went into. Shall I confirm it with the staff?" I challenged, feeling a surge of boldness. "It's useless to hide it," I continued as Dennis struggled for words. "Damn it," Dennis spat out bitterly, his anger finally surfacing. "Yeah, that's right. Her name is Emma. Unlike you, she's perfect. At work, in housekeeping. And yes, she's cute," Dennis finally admitted, his words cutting deep. This confession, though painful, was the final push I needed to pursue my happiness and well-being, free from the doubts and the strained pretense of our relationship. "She even said she likes me, even though I'm married." "Yeah, that just shows how attractive I am, right?" Dennis said, his tone mocking and sharp. He mimicked what he claimed the other woman, Emma, had said to him as if to justify the situation. Would a normal woman approach a married man like that? There must be more to it, I reasoned, trying to understand, but Dennis's attitude was dismissive. "Why should I feel bad for you and Eric? You should be ashamed for not supporting me more in my hard work," Dennis retorted defensively. "I heard from your father and mother that you hadn't even met your work quotas. Can you still say you're working hard?" I shot back, the disappointment in him weighing heavily on me. I'm doing things my way. I'm going to be the next president, so don't interfere, Dennis asserted arrogantly. I doubt you'll ever become president, I stated quietly, my resolve hardening. What did you say? Dennis's voice rose, his anger flaring. I'm done with you. Let's divorce, I declared firmly, unable to bear his excuses any longer. I'll divorce you and marry Emma. Do whatever you want, Dennis pointed at me, his words sharp and hurtful. Don't talk bad about Emma. You're just jealous of her, aren't you? Dennis accused, misinterpreting my stunned silence for shock. That's not the case, I replied quietly, my heart sinking. I'll show you. You'll regret this when you come begging to me later, Dennis shouted angrily, storming out of the house, likely heading to Emma's place. Impulsively, I tried to follow him but tripped over a slightly lifted carpet edge. I fell hard, hitting my back against the table with a sharp pain I had never felt before. Overwhelmed by the intense agony, I groaned, unable to move. Crawling towards my smartphone, I dialed for an ambulance as darkness threatened to engulf me. Mom, where am I? Eric's voice brought me back when I woke up. I lay in the hospital bed, my head spinning and my body aching all over. A nurse quickly came to my aid and called a doctor. Seeing my anxious state, they explained what had happened. It's okay, you'll gradually recover, the nurse assured me. Yes, thank you, I managed, trying to absorb the news. It's good that your life isn't in danger, the doctor added. However, the results of the subsequent examination shocked me deeply. The fall had caused spinal cord damage, making it difficult for me to walk. I was informed that I would need a wheelchair and my life would change drastically. After being discharged, life at home proved more challenging than I had anticipated. I realized I couldn't manage household chores, childcare, or even take care of myself alone. At the suggestion of my in-laws, I decided to live with them for a while, since I couldn't rely on Dennis for help. With Eric there too, I had no choice but to lean on their kindness. They must have been suspicious of Dennis's absence despite my condition. I knew I had to tell them the truth soon. Just as I contemplated this, the front door of my in-laws' house swung open with a loud noise. Dennis, where have you been? They demanded, their voices filled with concern and a hint of suspicion. As Dennis stepped into the room, my mother-in-law's voice trembled with anger. How can you be so heartless when Patricia is in such a condition? She scolded, staring him down as he glanced at me in the wheelchair. So, she's really in a wheelchair, huh? Dennis scoffed, looking at me dismissively. A useless woman who can't do household chores or take care of a child is of no use to me. Hurry up and divorce me, and pay me compensation for all the trouble, he declared coldly. How can you say such a thing to Patricia? My father-in-law interjected, visibly shocked by Dennis's cruel words. It's okay, Mom, Dad, I murmured weakly, feeling the weight of Dennis's callousness wash over me. The room fell silent with tension. Patricia, let's get a divorce, Dennis declared emotionlessly. I nodded, tears welling up in my eyes, my voice barely a whisper. I'm sorry, Father and Mother, I said, grieving the end of what had once promised to be a loving marriage. Surprisingly, his cruel words didn't sting as much as I thought they would. They simply confirmed that my love for him had completely faded. Contrary to everyone's surprise, Dennis seemed oddly cheerful about the situation. Now that you understand, I can freely marry Emma, he remarked casually, as if discussing something as trivial as the weather. Dennis, were you seeing another woman? My father-in-law asked, his tone sharpened by betrayal. Yeah, so what? What's the big deal? Dennis shrugged, unabashed. Patricia is boring, not particularly cute, and can't handle housework or childcare properly. How can you say that? My mother-in-law exclaimed, shocked. Patricia has been trying so hard with the housework and raising Eric. Yeah, whatever, Dennis dismissed, his tone callous. Anyway, I've decided to be with Emma. Dad, it's time to hand over the company to me. You're getting old. Nonsense, I won't let someone like you take over the company, my father-in-law retorted firmly. Fine, just send me the divorce papers by mail, okay? Dennis concluded nonchalantly. After separating from Dennis, I started a new life. I now live comfortably in a house recommended by my in-laws with the help of a caretaker they suggested. My daily life feels easier than before, a calm tranquility settling over my new reality. However, amidst this calm, an unexpected development awaited. One day, while I was passing time peacefully, the doorbell rang. Glancing at the monitor, I saw Dennis standing outside, his face a mix of confusion and desperation. "Hey, Patricia, what the hell is going on?" Dennis blurted out as I opened the door. "What's up, Dennis?" I replied calmly, masking my surprise. "I got fired from the company. Dad just keeps saying it can't be helped," Dennis confessed, his desperation evident. "Oh dear," I murmured sympathetically. "Mom and Dad are saying you're no longer our son. We're cutting ties with you," Dennis continued, his voice tinged with disbelief. "That's tough," I responded quietly, trying to process his sudden vulnerability. "I didn't know about the stocks. I had no idea you owned 95% of my parents' company's stocks. Why didn't you tell me?" Dennis pleaded. "Because you never asked," I replied evenly, maintaining my composure in the face of his unfolding crisis. Even though I hadn't prompted the question, Dennis anxiously sought clarity about my intentions by asking, "In the end, what do you expect from me?" "You know exactly what I want, Dennis. I want you to revoke my termination," he implored with a sense of urgency, his voice filled with desperation. "You have significant ownership in the company. Surely you can reverse my firing?" "That's correct, Dennis. Please, Patricia," he continued, his voice growing more desperate. "I'm being shunned by other companies. No one else will hire me. You're my only hope." "If being secure in your job was important to you, you should have taken your role more seriously," I replied, unmoved by his pleas. "But if you promise to be more dedicated, I'll consider rescinding your termination." "Don't worry about the reports to the board or what she might say," he added hastily. "Emma left me the moment she realized I had no chance of becoming president. She was only after my status," Dennis confessed bitterly. "I see," I responded calmly, my emotions undisturbed. "Please, Patricia, you're all I have left. Let's get married again. It's in your best interest, too," Dennis proposed, his voice laced with a glimmer of hope. I was taken aback by his audacity. "Dennis, what are you talking about? You're in a wheelchair. You need my support, and Eric needs his father," he pressed, trying to influence my decision. My irritation flared at his boldness. "How dare you say such things?" I thought, just as Brian, my assistant, stepped in. "I'm sorry, but Patricia no longer wishes to speak with you," Brian interjected assertively before I had the chance to react. "Who are you?" Dennis asked, visibly taken aback. "I'm speaking to Patricia," Brian replied firmly. "As I mentioned, she does not want to continue this conversation." "But Patricia needs me," Dennis protested desperately. "I have nothing more to say to you, and I never want to see you again," I declared through Brian, ending the conversation decisively. Stunned by the turn of events, Dennis tried to plead again, but Brian promptly turned off the monitor, cutting him off. Observing Brian's rare show of anger, I felt an unexpected respect for him. Brian, who was slightly older and had been introduced as a helper by my in-laws, had become an indispensable part of our lives, growing close to Eric and me. As time passed, I learned that Dennis, now abandoned by Emma and his parents, was facing a solitary struggle. However, his fate no longer affected me. With the support of my in-laws and Brian, I was finding new strength and stability at home. Brian's help with household and childcare duties allowed me to regain confidence and start meeting new people, sharing smiles, and embracing the joys of daily life. Reflecting on the arduous journey I had with Dennis, I realized I had moved past those challenges and was discovering a new version of myself. Our paths had diverged. While Dennis was possibly filled with regret on his lonely road, I was moving towards a future brimming with peace and happiness, surrounded by loved ones.